Hi, my name's Dan from Awareful, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you again today, all you wonderful staff at Hawksford, giving you a bit of an insight into breathing or breath work as a way of managing our well-being. And absolutely it is one of those tools. It's one of those tools that really we can utilize to recognize how we are feeling and responding to the world around us. So the way in which the video is going to be, we're going to be breaking up into three key areas. One, which is this, how are we breathing now? You know, like literally how are we breathing? How has our breath responded to our world? Two, then the quality of our breath. You know, it's all good to know how we're breathing, but what does quality of breath mean? And three, which is then this manipulation of breath. We then begin to look at the ways in which we can begin to utilize our breath in a much more positive, helpful sense to help us to get through those tougher times, maybe to help us to get to sleep at night, or when stress rises, utilizing our breath in a way to calm and manage this internal, very ancient system that we have. So, now, the difference between, I guess, breath work and pranayama is probably some of you may be thinking, you know, I do pranayama all the time and whatever it is, and which is fantastic, absolutely. So for me, pranayama, which is, I guess, this idea of breath control, energy control, you know, breath is seen more like energy rather than just this air, this lungs that suck in air all the time. And the difference between pranayama and breath work, for me, pranayama is more like everyday, religiously utilizing and manipulating our breath in a way to keep our body in control, keep it balanced, you know. It can absolutely, some of the pranayama practices can change our state. So it is absolutely meant to manipulate our state, or how we're interpreting our world, how our brain's interpreting our world. Whereas breath work is, I guess, more therapeutic. You know, it's not every day. Sometimes it can be sort of experiences. So you go and do like a Wim Hof course or something like that. You go away and you get your body into this particular state that helps you to cope with ice, you know, ice water, you know. And I mean, originally Wim Hof didn't design the Wim Hof breathing. He's just sort of taken it from an ancient Tibetan Buddhist practice, Tummo, which is basically a particular fire breath, which allows for monks to sit in the hills for years during negative 20 and 30 degrees, you know. It can elevate the temperature within our body. Incredible. And a lot of the breathing practices or the breath work practices that have come out have been, I guess, where particular practitioners have gone and studied with yogic masters and come back and try to, I guess, manipulate it in a way for the Western world. And I guess that's more what breath work is. It's sort of this manipulation of this original, very ancient practices and utilize in a more therapeutic sense. And we're going to have a look today at one particular therapeutic breath work, again, taken from an ancient traditional practice, but can be used to help just to send messages to our system to tell us that everything's okay, that we're in control, that we don't need to be as stressed as we had to, and release all those much more calming, beneficial hormones and whatnot into the body. So, coming back, one, which is this idea of how are we breathing? And I want you to just notice now, like, how are you breathing? How are you breathing right now? Are you finding that you're all up in the shoulders, upper chest, upper respiratory? Is it all in this area? Or as you're sitting there, you're noticing you're breathing all the way down into your stomach. So maybe it's sort of stomach breathing, you know, breathing down into the diaphragm, and feeling the diaphragm opening and closing. Maybe it's a bit of a mix. Do you notice, is it a short breath at the moment? No, you're just breathing quite short. Or are you deep breathing? Are you really breathing deeply? And the last part is, are you breathing through your nose or through your mouth? These types of questions can absolutely play a massive impact in how your body and mind will respond to the world that's around you. Now, your breath is like a trigger that when you're not coping well, you know, it's a trigger of resilience when you're not coping well, that your breath begins to change. It's biological. Absolutely, we can manipulate that, which we're going to look at shortly. So this is what we do, and these types of, these 3 steps is what we should be doing a lot of the time, but we don't. The evidence points to that originally we were nose breathers, you know. Always breathing through the nose is actually a lot of wonderful things that happen biologically as we breathe through our nose, but instead we always breathing through our mouth, and we actually over-oxygenate our system. I won't go too much into that side of it all, but just beginning to notice as we move into this sort of stage 2, this quality of breath. Now, am I breathing through my nose or am I mouth breathing at the moment? Because what they've said is a lot of this mouth breathing can actually create a sense of anxiety, particularly if we're only breathing to the top half of our lungs. Actually, we get a lot of stale air in the bottom part of our lungs, which again has been shown to create anxiety and stress in our body that we don't like. So breathing through our nose, it's much more regulating. It's much more regulating. So that's the first part of this quality of breath. Am I breathing through my nose? Now there's a lot of athletes that utilize just this tool, coming away from the breath of the mouth and moving into the breath of the nose to begin to stimulate our muscles in a much more positive way. The body knows just how much it needs, but we overfill it sometimes. You know, often like when we go to a buffet, we've got to overdo it all the time. And so we've become overbreathers. So this quality of breath is really important. So absolutely, are we breathing through our nose? Are we just upper chest breathing? When we go into our stress response, we often just upper chest breathe because we needed to. We needed to over-oxygenate our system really quickly, get our CO2 levels up to go, make a huge, quick, whatever decision and run, fight, whatever it is. And so we needed to pump our system up, get the adrenaline running through our system and fight away from wherever we were. But as we begin to require us to calm down, breathing out's okay through the mouth. Most important part is through the nose. But those deeper, more belly breathing, come all the way down into the diaphragm, really noticing sort of the stomach just expanding and contracting, really. And even sometimes you have to do it yourself, just pushing your stomach out and close to really get that depth of breath. Because what that does is actually, it begins to send messages to your brain that actually everything's okay. I'm better in control. You can begin to calm our sympathetic or stress system down just by doing that. Just by breathing in through the nose, breathing all the way down into the diaphragm. And it settles the system down. Nice, big, cleansing, deep breaths. And so the quality of the breath is incredibly important. Are we breathing through our nose? Are we just shoulder breathing? Can I lengthen my breath at all? And this is where we begin to utilize this third part, which is the manipulation of breath. Can I manipulate my breath in a way that actually goes against what we know as the autonomic nervous system, which feels like it should be automatic, but actually we have more control over it than we realize. That actually we have biological mechanisms within us that we control to calm our system down, that it's not truly automatic, that actually we are in more control than we realize. And manipulation of breath, which is, in its sense, what pranayama is, can settle our system down. It can tell us that everything's okay. Sometimes it means taking a little walk. Often people utilize it during meditation just to settle the mind a little bit, which in all essence really is what it is we're doing as a whole. This is all meditative practices. We're just learning how to better control how we are. We're taking an inner reflection and utilizing the tools that we have to settle our system down. And so we move into this manipulation of our breath as we're knowing and seeing that we're getting stressed, or we've reacted or responded to a particular external change, circumstance, event. Maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's an email, maybe it's just a memory that's happened. And we calm our system down, reminded that it's okay. manipulated our breath in a way that brings our control back. And this leads me on to the final part of our video, which is just to teach you a real simple practice. Because again, through the manipulation of breath, what they've said, the in-breath it actually activates our stress response, and our out-breath activates our parasympathetic response, our relaxation response. And so what we're trying to do is actually breathe out for longer than we breathe in. It tells our brain everything's okay. Incredible, incredible. And literally it can take 2 minutes. And that's where we're going to finish today. So what I want you to do, wherever you are, and you can do this with your eyes open or closed, and for those people that do it and they find themselves actually getting more stressed or more anxious, stop, okay? Because actually breathing practices can trigger traumatic responses, because trauma and breath are so intrinsically linked. But actually when we try and do these particular types of practice, actually we go straight into a traumatic response. And if you're noticing that, please stop, okay? And maybe breathing practices aren't quite ready for you just at the moment. But for everyone else, you can do this with your eyes open or closed. I do it with my eyes closed just because I enjoy it more that way. But for you, I'll have my eyes closed because there's nothing weirder than someone staring down a lens at you while you're trying to do your breathing practices. And this is called 7-11 breathing, where we count in 7 and we count out 11, just to make sure we're breathing out more than we're breathing in, and following those sort of the quality of breath rules. Always breathing in through the nose. We can breathe out through the mouth if we want to. Don't need to make a crazy noise, but we breathe in and breathe out. Okay. The other quality of breath is making sure we're trying to go all the way down into our stomach, almost like we could breathe all the way down into our stomach. Really getting that quality of breath all the way down, getting all the way down to the bottom of the lungs. So I will lead you on the first 4, and then I want you to do the 4 all on your own. And no, you don't need to count them aloud. I won't hear you, I'll be honest with you, okay? So with me, remember, quality of breath through the nose all the way down to the stomach. When you're getting to the end of the 11, there really should be nothing left as well. You're like, nothing left, okay? So with me, so we're going to breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, now I want you to do that 4 on your own. Change your breath around. If you need to breathe a little bit longer, that's okay. If it's a bit shallower, that's okay. Change it to you. But remember, there's nothing left. In for 7 and out for 11. Okay, enjoy. All right? How did you find that? Calming? Maybe you're noticing a change between where we were just before and where we are now? I can, and I've done this practice a million times. The wonderful thing about it, we can repeat it as often as we like. We're only breathing. Some of you may have felt a little bit lightheaded, and that's absolutely normal. the more you do it, the less that happens, honestly. And what happens is as we come out of the stress response and go into our relaxation response, there's that sort of lightheadedness that happens in that transition sometimes. If we're constantly stressed, I don't want to say it, but I tend to find it's with people that are constantly stressed and not managing themselves effectively that they get a bit of lightheadedness that happens. All right. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again, particularly Krista. Wonderful to be able to work with you again and all your amazing staff at Hawksford. Thank you so much for your time. There will be a link to the practice underneath as well for a shorter version, so you don't have to try and find it in the video. Thank you so much. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you again on another wellbeing video. Have an amazing rest of your day.